not in my league. You out of place, I'm not at the top, I'm outer space. Can't eat with us, we're out of place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate. Straight talk going state to state.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? Your host is back, and I am literally just under a week away from Bound for Glory, and I got a big guest. I got a huge guest. I got somebody who's going to be sharing the main event with the current champion, Christian. He's going one-on-one, and in my opinion, I think he's going to take it. Please help me welcome none other than the walking weapon, Josh Alexander, back for the third time to Straight Talk Wrestling. How are you, my dude?
Good, man. Third time's the charm, I guess. I need that good luck charm.
Absolutely. Speaking of good luck charms, thank you for shouting out my daughter on her birthday, showing that video of the bracelet that she made you. God, that must have been, what, 3 years ago?
I think it was when I won the Destiny Championship. So, yeah, probably 3 years ago now.
Yeah. I was so stoked when she saw that video. She was like running up and down the stairs. She's like, Dad, he still has it. I'm like, of course he does, man. Of course he does.
Yeah, it's not left my bag at all. I look at it every few months. Every once in a while when I go through my bag and rummage through it, I see it and just like I always remember it. So yeah, it's cool.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Another shout out from the man himself. So Josh, I got to get right into it. I got to ask this question right off the bat. Option C, cashed it in now. So I got to ask, why now? Why not against Rich Swann or Kenny Omega? Why now against Christian?
Well, it's just timing is everything. And at the time that Rich Swann was champion, or the time Kenny Omega was champion, I had other things on my mind. I said, first and foremost, I wanted to establish myself as one of the greatest X Division champions of all time. Because I looked at people like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and how they springboarded their careers to larger heights. And they did it off the backs of what they did in the X Division. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to follow in their footsteps and, walk the same path. And I believe I've done that. I think I'm in the conversation for one of the greatest X Division champions of all time now. So then you look at the landscape of stuff, and I could have kept going. Certainly, there's definitely huge matchups out there where I could have kept going. But, it came to a point where I'm 16 years into this wrestling career come November. And I don't think I've ever been better than I am right now. I don't think I'm, I think I'm in my prime, certainly. And I looked around, and if I'm going to be able to call myself a world champion, if I'm going to be able to call myself a main eventer, I don't see any better way than to introduce myself into that conversation than to do it at Bound for Glory on the biggest stage in Impact Wrestling in the main event against not just a legend in, Impact Wrestling, but a legend in the sport in Christian Cage. So
I couldn't disagree with you. And speaking of Christian Cage, I got to ask this. I mean, how do he, like you said, he's a legend in his business, but you yourself are also in that conversation, in my opinion. I've known you very well for a long time, and I've seen you elevate year to year. And I think you're right. This is the best Josh Alexander that we have seen. He's ready, he's game. But how do you prepare for a legend like Christian, a guy who can hit you 20 different ways, much like you yourself can? They don't call you the walking weapon for no reason. But how do you prepare for a guy like Christian?
I mean, if you've been following along every, Thursday on Impact on Access, you've seen that Christian is kind of, I don't know if it's underestimating me, but he's been kind of trying to play these games with me where he wants to, try to use my temper or my emotions against me. And I don't think that's to his benefit, so he can keep trying all he wants. I think that you look at this matchup and, how do I prepare for Christian Cage? The funny part about it is I've been preparing for this match for 20 to 25 years. I've had the luxury of, being a fan and then a wrestler who's followed and studied his career along the way the entire time. There's not one thing I haven't seen. I think I'm the wild card here. I think Christian Cage has the, he's at a disadvantage because he hasn't really been following along with my career. He hasn't seen the things I can do in that ring. So, he can play his games. He can do whatever he wants because he needs every edge he can get. I'm the one with the benefit in this match, I think, going into it. It's not like it's going to be an easy match for me. I definitely wouldn't, have cash in option C if I don't think I can win. But, it's going to be a fight one way or another. It's going to be one of the best matches of all time when it's all said and done in Impact Wrestling, I think. And yeah, I prepare for it the same way I've been preparing for everything else since I came back from my neck injury 6 or 7 years ago. So.
Absolutely. And you know what? You're used to big fights. Like we said, we've seen so many big fights at Destiny, seen so many big fights on Impact. You are a big time fighter. You know how to step up, but you're fighting for the biggest prize at Impact. It's gotta be weighing a little bit on you. So how do you keep your head focused on that? The fact that you are fighting for the top of the mountain?
I just, it's definitely a boatload of pressure. It's a lot of nerves and stuff like that going wild every time I think about it. But, you know, like the one thing that has been consistent throughout my career is that when I have those big matchups, when I have those big opportunities and I get these nerves and I get like I feel the pressure, you know, pushing down, I always rise to the occasion. And I don't know if it's experience or temperament or whatever, but it's something I certainly embrace. So being in this position on the biggest stage as possible with all this pressure, I'm embracing all of it, and I can't wait.
Absolutely. And the great thing about it is biggest stage, biggest pay-per-view of Impact for the year, and it's an all Canadian main event. So like both of you guys repping Canada, repping the North, everybody here in the North, eyes are going to be on both of you. What's the pressure like of having a whole nation behind you? Because if you're a Canadian wrestling fan, these are two names you know very well: Christian Cage, Josh Alexander.
I mean, I don't know if there's pressure behind it at all. I'm really looking forward to that. Like if all like the one thing I can say is I watched the Heart Foundation growing up, and then I watched Team Canada growing up, and I also watched, you know, the Edges and Christians and stuff like that. And I embraced all of these people because they were hailing from Canada, and there was just like a certain amount of pride that I took as a wrestling fan growing up, being like, these guys are from my country. And, you know, if any wrestling fans out there that were my age when I did that are looking down at this match, like watching it on that pay per view, and they can say the same thing. They have a certain amount of pride in knowing that what we're doing and we're coming from like the same country as them and stuff. And it like, you know, it amplifies their experience watching it. Like that's awesome to me. Like there's no more added pressure having a country depending on us, because both of us have established that we are very good professional wrestlers. Like we're not in the main event of Bound for Glory for no reason. So like that's all solidified, that's signed, sealed, and delivered already. But like for me personally, I don't know how Christian feels about this. I take a great deal of pride in being a Canadian wrestler, and if all of Canada's watching, you know, I hope all eyes are on us, and I hope they're very proud by when it's all said and done.
Oh, I think they absolutely will be. I think you guys are going to put on a 10-star match, and screw Metzler because I said 10-star first years ago. I stapled that. That's mine. But in terms of now, the Impact title has not been in an Impact roster member's hands in a very long time. So we're looking at not only solidifying you as one of the greatest members of the Impact roster, in my opinion, but we're also looking at bringing it back to the hands of the Impact roster. How important is that?
I think it's insanely important. I answered this question a bunch of times when Kenny Omega was champion. People asked me if I took exception to him, you know, not being a member of the locker room and all this other stuff. And, you know, as opposed to Kenny Omega, Christian, it has a long lineage in Impact Wrestling. Like this is where he came and he, you know, laid it all on the line to show that he could be a main eventer, to show he could be a world champion. And this is where like he established that point of his career where he, you know, he's one of the best. And I think it's only gone on to like grow further and further from there. But this is the place where he did that. So he has a huge history here. So it's not like he's completely foreign to the Impact Wrestling locker room, but you know, there's somebody else signing his checks. So he as long as there's a different billionaire signing his check at the end of the week, he's not a part of this locker room, in my opinion. I think that there's a lot of people in our locker room that you know, take exception to this, me included. And I think as a member of this locker room, as somebody that you know, takes a lot of pride in being a part of Impact Wrestling, I want to champion this brand around the world. And if I can do that as world champion, that's my plan. I want to take that belt back and put it in our locker room and show. Sure, you want to have a forbidden door. Whoever steps through it, yeah, you're going to have to face me. You're going to have to face one of the best, or any of this locker room, because we can stand up with any company in the world.
Absolutely. And a lot of this locker room, some have trickled over. Moose went over, Sammy went over. The Good Brothers go over consistently. Sometimes you don't even know where their loyalties lie, to be completely honest. But when all the smoke is cleared at Bound for Glory and the match is said and done, and if your hand is raised, and I'm pulling for you 150%, if your hand is raised, will you, as the new Impact Wrestling champion, will you decide yourself to just walk through the forbidden door? Will you maybe show up on a Rampage or show up on a Dynamite just because you can, because they've done it so many times to Impact?
I would jump at the opportunity to show up wherever I can outside of that forbidden door to, you know, and I'd have a giant Impact logo on my back the entire time, just to, like I said, show that we can compete with anybody in any wrestling show and any wrestling company all over the world.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. Now, you're a dad. I'm a dad. I got two wonderful, gorgeous daughters. You got two strapping young fellows, very, very, very boisterous, cheerful guys that are all about dad. And I follow you and your wife on all social medias, and you're always posting about Jet. And recently, Jay posted a video of him with Demolition, and he was smacking them all over the ring with your little micro brawler. So, how cool is it to kind of share these moments with your sons and being able to, now that they're older and they kind of understand what daddy does for work? How much is it, how important is that for when this match is done, and if it goes your way, and I know it will, to raise that title knowing that they're going to be at home screaming their heads off?
Oh, well, I don't know if this is a hot take. I think they put it out there. They're going to be sitting in the crowd. We're bringing them to Las Vegas, so the whole family's going to be there.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I figured it was too, like I said, probably biggest match of my career. So I figure if I'm going to bring them anywhere, and they've been locked down with the pandemic for long enough, it's time to get out of the house and go do something. So, we're bringing them to Vegas live. So, like, you want to talk about pressure? There's some added pressure there because there could be, you talk about millions of people that might be counting me out for this match. Christian has a long history of being one of the best wrestlers in the world and all this other stuff. He is the champion. People are just overlooking me or counting me out. There's two people I know that aren't overlooking me, and that's my two boys. So there's a lot of pressure coming from them to make sure that I don't disappoint them because, I want, either way, they're going to be crying at the end of the match. I just got to make sure they're happy tears. And because every father is their son's hero, I think. But me being a professional wrestler and having them completely obsessed with wrestling, I think it's like I'm I'm a superhero to them. So I got to make sure that I rise to the occasion just for them, I think.
Absolutely. So again, no other pressure, but yeah, it might be a little bit of a hot take, but that's breaking news on my end. So I'm pretty cool for that's pretty cool. Congratulations on that. I mean, again, fingers crossed that it goes your way. In terms of after Bound for Glory, and again, all the smoke clears, and if that strap is on your shoulder, will you take on all comers? Will you be a fighting champion, or will they have to earn it? Which I don't think it's a bad idea either way. Either you fight it or they earn it. But either way, I think will you take on any and all comers?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do the exact same thing I did with the X Division title. I will, I want to wrestle. That's the only time I'm happy is when I'm wrestling and competing. So if I can wrestle on every Thursday night, I will wrestle on every Thursday night and will defend that championship. If you can line up contenders, I will continue to knock them down because, like, the end goal here is to go down in the history books as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. The only way to do that is to establish yourself as one of the greatest champions of all time. And like, it's all building blocks here. You go from the X Division Championship to the World Championship, and then from there, you want to become a legend. So, the only way to do it is to compete. There's no easy way to do it. And yeah, if there's contenders, I have no problem, laying that title on the line if I, carry it.
I absolutely 150% think you will carry it. And there's a couple intriguing minds because I mean, when you're a champion, you already know this. You've been a champion multiple times. Bullseye's always on your back, always on your back. A couple intriguing matchups would be, you and Sammy, because I have seen you go to those dark places when you need to, and I know he lives in those dark places.
Yeah.
You and Moose, I mean, that would just be athleticism and power meeting each other. It would be incredible. But is there anyone on the roster that would intrigue you? I mean, I know we don't want to look too far ahead of Bound for Glory, but is there anybody on the roster that you haven't been able to step into the ring with that intrigues you a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Whether I'm champion or not, like there's matchups I look at that haven't happened, and I wonder why, and then I just know that there'll be something special. And like the top of the list to me is Eric Young. I It's not just the Canadian connection there or anything like that. It's just the way he wrestles, just like the everything about Eric Young. Like as a wrestler, I'm a fan. And like we're disregarding me as a wrestling fan. I'm talking about as a professional wrestler. I'm a fan of everything he does in that ring. And I think that if you put the two of us together, you're talking about something special.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. There's not much I can disagree with you on because you're 100% right in everything you say, and that's not me kissing your ass. That's the truth. That's the truth of the matter.
Hey, come tell my wife that for me, all right?
I will. I will.
Yeah.
But I'll do it safely from the comfort of my own phone where I
Yeah.
can slide, I can quickly get into the DMs and be like, Josh is right, and then quickly block her so I don't get the response.
Yeah, there you go. Play it safe.
So, I mean, you're soaking it all in. You're prepping for the match. When this drops on Monday, we're literally going to be 5 days out from, as you stated, the biggest match of your career. We've talked about the pressures. We talked about everything. But before you know it, it's going to be go time. And go time is going to cement you, as far as I'm concerned. I already know. I already know your history. I know what you can do, and I've already made my decision, and I put my stamp on it, and I don't care what anybody says. When I do my prediction show for Bound for Glory, my pick is you, 150%. And that's just knowing who you are in and out of that ring. But for any of those fans out there that discount you, because there are people that discount you, there are haters, there are naysayers, because what would the world be without a bunch of keyboard warriors living in mama's basement talking about stuff they know nothing about? What do you got to say to those?
I mean, I don't think you can please everybody, regardless of what I'm going to say. People have just made up their minds one way or another. If I can change anybody's mind, the only thing I can say is buy the show, watch the match. By the end of that match, if you're not a fan of me, then there's no way you're ever going to be a fan of me, because you're going to see somebody that has nearly 16 years experience, that is, nearly had a contract and broke his neck, nearly had a contract, got turned away at the border, and then finally got his contract and opportunity to Impact Wrestling. And in under 3 years' time, on my first contract, I've managed to go down in history as one of the greatest tag team champions of all time. I then parlayed it into one of the greatest X Division champion runs of all time. And now I'm stepping in and laying it all on the line, like literally. My entire identity was being X Division champion. I'm laying all that on the line for an opportunity to call myself a world champion. If you can't relate to somebody betting on themselves, then I don't know what to tell you.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. And I bet all my chips are in. Like I said, I bet firmly on you. A couple more questions and I'll let you go enjoy your evening. When when you're going to be out there and your kids are going to be, in the crowd, Jade's going to be in the crowd and it's there, you mentioned other pressures, but if you could steal the moment before the bell rings just to look over at the family and see their smiles and see their jubilation, will you steal that screenshot real quick, or will it just be 100% focused? Because we know the walking weapon. I know the walking weapon outside the ring. I know he's
Yeah.
hilarious. I know. I also know his alter ego, the dancing weapon, very well, very well. And I also know who he is inside the ring. And inside the ring, he's stone cold. He's a killer. But if you get a chance to steal that quick moment with the family, will you?
I've left that up to being in the moment, because it'll all depend, because I don't I, I need to be focused for this match first and foremost. And if I get in that match and I get over and try to get that like little screenshot view of my family, that might break me and take me out of the moment, man. That, like, honestly. So I might have to wait until after the match is all said and done to actually embrace my family and see that. So
Fair enough. I understand. Being in the moment is all that counts. And final question. We've talked about strategies, and I know you don't want to give away your strategy. We talked about Christian and his mindset about playing these games, trying to get at your emotions. But when you're in that ring on Saturday, emotions is really all that matters. So now he's played his games. Now he's done his thing. Now he's, again, there's also one more impact before Bound for Glory. So there's going to be another mind game or two. We know this. But when that bell rings, mind games are over. Time for talking is over. Time for walking is right at that moment. And there's nobody better to walk than the walking weapon. So is that when all the emotions bubble? Because you've kept them in check till now, but is that when all the emotions finally just, all right, you little pipsqueak, now it's time to just crack you like an egg?
I mean, yeah, if you want to try to say that I have an anger issue or a problem with rage and I can't control that and all that stuff, that's fine. I'll openly admit it. When I get in that ring and that bell rings, you're going to see a lot of anger. You're going to see a lot of rage. You're going to see a lot of intensity. And that's just like, that's been synonymous with me as a professional wrestler. That's what the walking weapon is. That's how I got that moniker. So I really don't think it works to an advantage. So I'm completely fine with it. When that bell rings, you're going to get the same walking weapon you get every single time. And, if my anger and my rage ends up costing me in some way, then so be it. But if there's one thing I am in that ring, it's adaptable to all sorts of situations. I'm not a spring chicken, as they say. I know Christian's been around for 25 years, but I've got nearly 16 years in this business. So I know a lot of stuff that's going to get thrown at me. Certainly he has the experience edge, but I wouldn't say that I'm at a complete disadvantage here. So I'm excited for the match. I can't wait for it to get here, 5 days away or whatever you say. And I'm just anticipating that moment when that bell rings, because the second the bell rings, no matter how many fans are there, how many eyes are on me, all this other stuff, all that pressure, that instantly when that bell rings, it washes away, because then I'm in a match. Then I'm in my comfort zone, and that's exactly where I want to be.
It's almost like then you're home. I mean, you have your home, but the ring is your home away from home. So no matter where you lay your hat, you're home. And I believe Vegas is going to be a very big night for you. You've got the Straight Talk family 150% behind you. You've been a member of the Straight Talk family from day one. You jumped on the podcast when nobody knew about it, and I'm always in your debt for that, because you gave me an opportunity to have a conversation with you when a lot of other cats weren't doing it yet. And because of that, it helps springboard me a lot. So I am in debt to you. I am a fan. I am a friend, and I consider you family. So you got all of us pulling behind you, the mini host pulling behind you, and even the little 5-year-old who doesn't really pay much attention unless the really, really big guys are on the screen. And she's watched a lot of your matches, so she likes what she sees. She knows her champion choice as well. So final question, and that's it. Beer of choice. When it's all said and done, and if you got that strap on your shoulder, what's that first beer you're gonna crack?
I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I'm not a big drinker. I've always been like a Corona or a Bud Light, or like I just don't like Labatt or Canadian, because it's too it's too pungent for me. So yeah, you know what I'm saying. So if somebody slides me a Guinness, I'm gonna pass on the beer. But I'll take a light beer here and there, no problem.
All right, perfect. Well, I'll make sure that I have both Bud Light and Corona in my fridge. So when the smoke is clear and your hand is raised, I'm going to crack one for you right in front of the TV. I'll be like, cheers to you, my friend. Awesome. Okay, so before we wrap it up, again, thank you so much for the time. Good luck on Saturday. You've got all of us pulling for you. Our eyes are firmly on it, and we can't wait to see you bring that title home. And if there's anybody out there stupid enough to not be following your journey or following who you are, please shout out your socials for the world.
Just Instagram and Twitter at walking_weapon. And you'll just see a lot of pictures of my kids, some workout stuff, and then it's all pro wrestling from there. So.
Absolutely. And then of course the occasional video shouting out my child. Not shouting out me, but shouting out my child. That's okay. She's cuter than I am. I understand it.
Yeah.
I get it. Thank you so much. That's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to watch Bound for Glory if you haven't on pay-per-view. Buy it. Like Josh said, watch history in the making. As always, I'm your host, your boy, George Mackay. Thank you so much for watching. And thank my special guest, the walking weapon, Josh Alexander. My dude, good luck on Saturday. The world will be watching. Peace, love, and wrestling, guys. See you next time. Peace. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to tune in next week for another great episode on all available podcast platforms and hosted on Podbean. Also, check us out on YouTube at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And if you feel the need to buy some sweet merch, check us out on ProWrestlingTees.com.
Leaving the scene with no trace, not in my league. You out of place, I'm not at the top, I'm outer space. Can't eat with